Alright, hello everybody. Today I'm going to be presenting the legend of the Bloody Mary. So basically, Bloody Mary is one of the most famous icons in history, and she's gone down as one of the most terrible leaders in all of England or anywhere for that matter. And she's especially known for her signature burning people at the stake. Heretics that were speaking out against the government, they were all burned at the stake, and she was known for about killing 300 people in her time, all Protestant opponents of the Catholic rule of England. But Bloody Mary is actually Mary the First, not to be confused with Mary, Queen of the Scots. Because of how short her reign was, it may explain the reason why she went down so negatively in history. Just because it's possible that if she had ruled for longer, her ways might have caught on, and people would have been able to appreciate her rule a little bit more. But we're going to talk about the early parts of her life. She was born in England, of course, February 16th, 1516, into the Tudor family. Her father was Henry VIII, and he was the king of England at the time. And her mom was a Catholic, and her name was Catherine of Aragon. Um, they had her mom and her dad had a negative history in the past where Henry VIII wanted to have a male heir to the throne, and after having chil- uh, five unsuccessful children, all being female, and all of them ending up dying before the end of their infancy, except for Mary. Because of this, they ended up annulling their marriage. Except it in the eyes of the papacy at the time, it was unacceptable. So Henry VIII, um, he started his own religion called the Church of England, and he rejected the rule of the Roman papacy over England and created Church of England. Because of this, there was obvious opposition to the Catholic rule. The Church of England, there was obvious Catholic opposition to the Church of England because it was a new Protestant religion that nobody really knew anything about. So, because of this, many people were executed due to outcries and protests. So soon after this, after annulling their marriage with the new religion, Henry VIII went and married Anne Boleyn, who, with her, they gave birth to Mary's half sister Elizabeth I. This was because of this new marriage in the eyes of the throne. Mary was no longer seen as the legitimate heir to the throne, which made her illegitimate. Um, but they were unable to create a male heir to the throne as well, and because of this, Anne Boleyn was executed, and Henry VIII moved on to Jane Seymour, with who they gave birth to Edward VI. Um, Shortly after giving birth to Edward VI, Henry VIII passed away and left Edward VI in rule over all of England. He took the throne and carried out his father's mission in creating a Protestant England. Because of this, there was an English Reformation, and persecution of all things Catholic began uh, just as intense as Henry VIII's rule. And what's funny is actually that Mary the First, she was actually Catholic because of her mom, and she was much closer to her mom, who was Catholic, and she practiced Catholicism in secrecy, becoming queen. After the death of Edward VI, he ruled for about 6 years, and during his reign, he changed the um, outcome of the heir and changing the heir of the throne to Lady Jane Grey, one of Henry VIII's grandchildren. Uh, and Because of this, Mary was forced to flee the country, except she chose instead to try to rally up enough support to take over the throne. Surprisingly, she was able to do this, and she gained a massive amount of support and successfully overthrew the throne, taking Lady Jane Grey's position on the throne at age 37, becoming the first independent female ruler of England. This, of course, didn't come without its problems, of course, and uh, she, instead of her former family members, instead of having a Protestant rule over England, she established a new Catholic rule, and because of this, there was obvious um, disagreement with her citizens, and she even set out to reverse the Protestant Reformation that was taking over England before she took place. And just like with her father, there was opposition on the Protestant side, and here heresy was answered with um, burning at the stake, mass execution, just like her father. Um, and many Protestant martyrs were created by being burned at the stake, and this was ultimately what ended up leading her to have the um, infamous title of Bloody Mary. Her reign was um, just a little bit shorter than her brother's, making her reign at 5 years instead of her brother half brother Edward VI 6 years. She died at age 42, 5 years after ascending the throne. Um, and because of her negative reputation, she was carried down in history as the ruthless tyrant Tudor, being the Tudor family. After her death, um, Mary the First's half sister Elizabeth the First was then crowned as the Queen of England, and she sought out to establish a much more controlled rule over England, and sought to repair the religions of Protestant and Catholic, hopefully, um, bringing peace to England, which she ended up doing, and actually created a time of prosperity afterwards. So Bloody Mary's legacy is actually really interesting, just because she was one of the first female um, one of the most important female figures in history, just because she was the first independent ruler of England that happened to be female, which was um, a controversial thing at the time. And what's also really important is that she's inspired like a lot of um, things nowadays, such as the Bloody Mary child's game. Of course, they go in the bathroom and say Bloody Mary 3 times in the mirror, and and her ghost is supposed to scare you. And then there's also the popular alcoholic beverage called Bloody Mary. Just a couple things that are kind of cool that carry down to this day. And just overall, her legacy is just very mysterious and intriguing. And if she were to have, in fact, ruled over England for a little bit longer, um, it's possible that she wouldn't have been seen uh, as infamously her reputation. But I guess we'll never know, since she died so soon after becoming queen. But yeah, that's all I got. Thank you.